Hello and welcome to this late afternoon taste challenge. I didn't know if it was going to happen because it took 7 attempts to get it to go live. It just would not work. Been going on a month now. All right, here's McCormick imported Scotch, blended Scotch whiskey, introduced, I don't know when, but the distillery was founded in 1856, but they don't own any Scotch. They don't own any Scotch whiskey distilleries. This is contracted out. We don't know who makes it. We know it's bottled in Missouri, Weston, Missouri, by McCormick Distilling Company. All right, it's 40% alcohol and it's aged 3 years. It's got a bagpiper. It might be discontinued, although I do see some liquor stores still listing it, like Specs in Beaumont and Houston, Texas. So it seems strange that they don't have it listed on the website anymore. Tommy Carroll says, hello, Louisiana liquor reviews the loss of a pope. Yes, that's right, Pope Francis. I didn't agree with his politics. May he rest in peace and perpetual light shine upon him. I agree. God bless his soul. All right, so this liter bottle usually runs about $18, but my friend David found it at the salvage store for $4.99. in Louisiana. So a great price and an astonishing price, $4.99 for a liter. And when I went over there, they had plastic bottles also. I don't know why they had plastic and glass, but this is the glass one. Tom says thumbs up. Same to you, Tom. Now here is the competitor Legacy blended Scotch whiskey, introduced in 1962. Actually, I can give you the month and the date, but it doesn't matter. But imported product of Scotland. They show some Scottish scenery. Some guys loading up some barrels. Now I bought this at Dorgnac's for $14.99. Dorgnac's Food Center, $14.99. Distilled and blended in Scotland. But it's actually bottled in Kentucky by the Sazerac company. It says it right there, Sazerac.com. And apparently they've always owned this brand. This has always been a Sazerac brand for over 60 years. About a month after I bought this bottle, I did see a glass liter bottle, but I wasn't buying more of it. But they do have, I did see plastic and glass both here in Louisiana. And I think the liter bottle glass was like really cheap, like $7.99. Okay, imported and bottled by the Legacy Company. Sure. Frankfort, Kentucky. Well, it's Sazerac. A very rare, it is pretty rare for our state. Like I said, I've seen it at 2 stores. Now it might be common where you live. I don't know, but it's rare. Subtle blend of 100% light Scotch whiskeys. Okay, yeah. Okay, but anyway, I liked it when I first tried it, and then it started taking on some weird caramel candy flavoring. It tastes like Werther's Original. Now, today I was eating Werther's Original green apple thing. I had never seen that before. It tasted pretty good. Not my type of thing. I'd rather have the caramel one, but it was good. I got to admit. All right, so there's Legacy. Pale. If they have coloring added, it's not much. It's pretty pale. Straw. There is a little tan to it. I've never seen it in my town. I've never seen this in McCormick. Holiday Distillery, Weston, Missouri, owned by McCormick. Founded in 1856. Now this one is very light. Even lighter. I mean, it is just straw. And you might be able to notice if If I can get it to focus how light this is. I think the only lighter Scotch whiskey that I have is the Ardbeg 10. And that's a single malt, which has natural color. It says it on the bottle, natural color. All right. So Legacy versus McCormick. Not exactly your mainstream blended Scotch whiskeys, but they're in the store in Louisiana. I bought them. Might be, like I said, might be in every state. I don't know. They're certainly not, like I said, they're not like the mainstream products. Now, I saw Grand Legacy Scotch at CVS Pharmacy about 5 years ago, and it was like green plaid. This is like yellow picnic tablecloth. That one was like green picnic plaid tablecloth, but and it was like $11.99 for a handle. You know, it was like an amazing price. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy this the next time I go. Yeah, the next time I went there, it was gone. And I never saw it again. And in fact, Grand Legacy is not even owned by CVS Pharmacy anymore. They sold the brand to Casey's convenience store. It used to be called Casey's. It's a Midwestern store. It used to be, but I think they've even come into Louisiana. But they used to be called Casey's. Old-fashioned general store, something like that. I used to see them all the time on road trips to Arkansas and Missouri. Gas station. But Sazerac still controls the production or arranges the production because they don't have Scotch distilleries, but Scottish distilleries. But yeah, so Grand Legacy exists. Nice shirt. What is it, bro? Outlaw light beer. Thanks, Sean. Hope you're doing well. I am too. Happy Easter Monday, everybody. The company sent me this shirt, so thank you to Outlaw Beer, Tivoli Brewing for sending me the shirt for free. I'll admit it. I didn't ask for it. They offered it. I'm not going to turn it down. I know that much. Let's clear up something here. Okay. We don't have that beer in Ireland, but it's a nice shirt. Thank you. Yeah, well, it just showed up in the United States the last 2 or 3 years. It's really, in the last year, it's been more widespread. It's from Colorado, so I'm sure they would like to send it to Ireland, and it may happen at some time, at some point. But it's a new, it's a new product. It's really not. They saw my video channel and they said, if we send you some beer, well, actually, I went to the store and bought it. They sent me money. And they said, would you make videos for it? And I said, yeah, of course. I was planning to try it anyway, eventually. I wasn't in a rush. But so I did it and I liked it. It's better than the average American light beer. It's all malt. There's no corn or rice added. It's all barley malt. Now, these are not all barley. They're blended. They're blended with barley and probably about 20% single malted barley. And they're probably about 80% grain alcohol, like corn, liquor, corn spirits. But they age it in, no matter what the liquor is, that's irrelevant. The grain alcohol has to be aged in charred or uncharred, doesn't matter. New or used, doesn't matter. Oak barrels for at least 3 years. At least 3 years. Now, in the United States, they don't have those regulations. You could buy bourbon, and it doesn't have to be aged even a year. Now, it might taste nasty. I don't know, but it just, the regulation for bourbon is it has to be aged in oak, new charred oak barrels for, they don't say, they just say aged. Now you say, well, could age be technically a day? It sat there for a day. It was aging. Well, it was in a barrel. It was new. It was charred oak. I guess theoretically that could happen, but I don't think anybody would buy it. But would these both be considered entry-level Scotch? Yeah, I would say so. Or would they be good for a new Scotch drink? For a new Scotch drinker, they're very mild. So yeah, probably. What do you think of Budweiser? It's popular here in Ireland. Well, I like it. Some people hate it. I don't know why, but certainly one of the top selling beers where I live in the United States. I mean, every beer store in America sells Budweiser, obviously. Although Bud Light is more popular these days because people like a lighter beer. But yeah, I mean, Budweiser is super popular. All right, let's go to the taste challenge. Now, what's going to win? I'm going to give an edge to McCormick personally because I think it's a little nicer flavor. I think the Legacy has a weird caramel candy flavor, which I don't think is proper. I doubt Legacy is sold in Scotland, although it's made there. It's distilled, blended, and aged in Scotland, but I think it's probably created as an export-only product back in 1962. Could be wrong. You might go to a liquor store and there's Legacy right on the shelf. I know that's why they don't sell Tomatin Legacy in the United States under the name Legacy, though. In the United States, Tomatin Legacy Scotch is sold as Tomatin Dualkus because Legacy is already trademarked. So Sazerac was not going to let them sell their own Legacy Scotch. But Dualkus is the Gaelic Scottish word for legacy. So kind of funny. But Americans don't know that. Well, actually, I didn't know it until I looked it up. Okay. I think I'm picking up that weird caramel candy thing. And you see, I think what's going to happen with this product is that over the next few years, it's going to get lower and lower in the bottle. And then that caramel candy is going to fade and it's going to be more peat, like rotted organic matter, because that's what happened with the Winn-Dixie Scotch. Now you say, well, we ain't talking about Winn-Dixie Scotch. I know, but I have a feeling that Winn-Dixie and Legacy is the same whiskey and they just relabel it for the Winn-Dixie stores. I just get that feeling. And I didn't put the ABV on here. Both are 40% alcohol, 3-year aged. Okay. I knew I was making a mistake. Okay, let's go over here. Kind of neutral in the aroma, which in this case I think is a good thing because otherwise you might be picking up some weirdness. Time to go because the baseball game started 4 minutes ago. I wouldn't mind watching it. Oh, yeah. I do not think Scotch whiskey is supposed to taste like some weird caramel candy. Now, there's no caramel added. There's no flavoring added, but by golly, this is an odd one. Mr. Grinch. Okay. What noise coming from? All right. I think Well, I think these are a lot closer than I thought they were going to be, honestly. I get fooled a lot when I do these blind taste tests. I get so tricked. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a snap, got it. Then you start tasting it, and it's like, where do I go? Who do I turn to? What's happening here? Now, when I get down the line, like tomorrow, let's look at tomorrow. I'm planning to bring in Buchanan's 12-year aged. Buchanan's, the celebrated famous Buchanan's, introduced in 1884, aged 12 years, also 40% alcohol. There is no way. There is no way McCormick stands a chance against Buchanan. So that's not going to be a challenge. It'll be a challenge in name, but in reality, it's not going to be a challenge. It's not going to happen. But I'll still stage it. I'll do it. But it's impossible. And then the next day, I guess Wednesday, I plan to do White Horse. That's been around since what, 1890? White Horse Scotch. There's no way I'm going to confuse White Horse. Well, I think it's only aged 3 years, but I don't think I'll ever confuse White Horse with McCormick. I can't see that. I cannot see. I heard you've defined some Scotch with a peat taste. That's true. Many Scotches have a peat taste. Could you better define the peat taste? Well, after I say it, you may never want to try it because it tastes a little bit like rotted vegetable matter, like a compost pile. People that do gardening know what I'm talking about, a compost pile. So I don't know how that would, you might say, oh no, a whiskey that tastes like rotted organic matter. I don't think so. But I think if you try it, you'll understand and you'll appreciate what I'm saying, but it's not going to be like nasty. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it. It's like trying to describe Limburger cheese. And when you describe Limburger cheese, people will not eat it. They'll say, I'll never try that. I was like, well, you never had it. Oh, but you described it in such a way. I say, yeah, but I don't know how to adequately describe it because there's like no flavor that's really like Limburger. So you try to make approximations. And dirty sock is not really, but it's hard, it's difficult. Thanks. That's what I was wondering. What kind of like dirt? Yeah, I know that sounds strange for definition of a Scotch. Yeah, it sounds terrible. And then it makes me not want to say it because then I think people are not going to go try the product. But I think they should try the product. Now, if you don't like it, don't buy it again. You can get little sample bottles anyway. What the heck? But you're going to pay more per ounce. Quite a bit more per ounce. But it might be worth it in the long run. But I don't even think you get a good understanding of the flavor just with a 50 milliliter tasting. Nah. I'll say bite the bullet and just get a 750, I'm telling you right now, this has that weird caramel candy, harsh, weird. I said that like 5 times already. Unusual, not proper flavor. Is it a bad, horrible, unbelievably undrinkable flavor? It's nothing like that. But I wouldn't buy it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I tried Legacy. When I first tried Legacy, I really liked it. Popped the cap, started trying it. I was like, oh, this stuff's good. My friend David tried it. Good. Okay. Now it's not sealed anymore as tight as it could be when it's from the factory. So it's getting a little air in it. And I kept sampling it, got more air. It started to deteriorate in its flavor. The score kept dropping. It's still dropping. Rest in peace, Pope Francis II says, Pope Francis the first, or the only, because there's no second yet. I think, thank you, Hector. Hi, Ronald, take care. I'll be watching your Wednesday hangout. Oh, thank you. Same to you, Hector. Thanks. That's good to know. I think I know what you're saying. Some people say certain whiskeys have a tobacco flavor, which makes sense once I've tasted the whiskey. Yeah, and then some people would be like, oh, tobacco. I hate tobacco. I never smoke it and I never chew it and I hate it. Why would you want me to try that? And you're trying to explain to them it's not tobacco. It's a flavor that we can't explain. So we're trying to make approximations. We're trying to somehow compare it to a flavor that you probably are familiar with. It's really unfair to the product because you don't know how to explain it. Smooth. It's a little sugar. I find these whiskeys are sugary, like rock candy. Medium body. They're both medium body, both finished mostly dry. This is a much nicer flavor. You get bread dough, which is the single malt. You get a little bread crust and maybe corn kernels, maize if you live in Spain or England, but like or Ireland, but like grain. So I think that's what that is. The grain alcohol, probably, like I said, probably 80%, 20% single malt, but it plays together very well. So I think McCormick paid a little bit more money to get this produced, but maybe they never made any money, which is why it's no longer, I don't think it's, you might find it at a liquor store, but I think it's out of production. I can't prove it, but there's pretty good circumstantial evidence that will back that up. Legacy definitely still made, but then on the other hand, when you taste it, you start to realize why it's $14.99 for this huge bottle at the time of purchase. I don't know what the price is now. So you say, well, if you pay $14.99 for that huge bottle and $7.99 for a liter glass bottle, that might indicate that something ain't too good with it. I would say yes, that's probably true. But I figured, the worst case scenario is that I could dump it out, but I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I wouldn't, maybe like it. Do I like it? No, I don't like it, actually. I think every time I sip this for the next, that might take 10 years. I'm not even kidding about that. But I really think the next 10 years, if it takes that long and I sip it down, I'm going to hate it more each time. It's going to get to be virtually undrinkable. But at this point, it's still in the B minus C plus range, maybe more towards C plus. But I think that's going to change. I think if you wrote a review for this product, the title should be "Ouch!" apostrophe. Exclamation mark apostrophe. Yeah, okay. Ouch! Exclamation mark. Like, woof, what are they doing with this thing? What's going on around here? You say, what is it a legacy of? It's a good question. What is it a legacy of? A legacy of badness? A legacy of cheap? Or if you live in California, you might say a legacy of gnarly. That stuff's gnarly, What's wrong with it? Okay, now let's go to McCormick. I don't want to just dwell on negative. The video is the McCormick Taste Challenge. I think McCormick did everything right with this product. I don't know who their contractor is, and we ain't never going to find out. So there's no use obsessing on that. But I think they teamed up with a good distiller, probably one of the big distillers, and you know who they are in Scotland. And so, or a contractor who arranges things, because probably a big grain whiskey distiller and some good single malt distillers. You say Aberfeldy or you could name all of them. Any of them are candidates because a lot of these single malt distilleries got excess capacity, and they'll do contract distilling with overflow, what you want to call overflow or backstock or overstock. They make more than they can sell under their own brands. So they'll say, well, we got some, you could buy it, or they might have something that didn't come out right. Like, well, this stuff is kind of, it got rejected. But what the heck, for $14.99, who cares if it got rejected? You're just gonna mix it with grain whiskey, and ain't nobody gonna drink it neat anyway at room temperature. They're gonna mix it with Hawaiian punch or whatever, Canada Dry, ginger ale. They're not gonna drink it neat at room temperature. All right. So does this have its place? I guess I just don't want to be in its place. I don't want to be anywhere around it. I can think of a lot more cheapo blended Scotch whiskeys that I would rather drink than this. Inverhouse, for instance, which is gone. Another Sazerac brand, by the way. I mean, gone from my area. I'm not saying it's discontinued. I'm not saying that. It's just wasn't a big product here anyway. But yeah. But McCormick, if it was discontinued, I'm sorry to see that, but just because I bought it don't mean anybody else bought it. And to be fair, well, actually, it was given to me by David. He bought it for $4.99. Now, he wasn't going to buy it for the full price. He just wasn't going to buy it for the full price because he wasn't looking at that. He buys stuff like Colila and Glenmorangie. So he saw it. He was calling me on the phone like, $4.99, it's $4.99. And I was like, calm down. What? It's $4.99 a liter. I said, $4.99 a liter. I said, well, McCormick is a pretty decent brand, although he hated the McCormick American blended whiskey that I gave him for a gift. I found it for $5.99. But he gave me this bottle, and then he bought a bunch. He was like, can you believe that price? I said, I can kind of believe it because I know how some of these stores in Louisiana operate, and I know Louisiana has very loose regulations. So, but I just found it strange to see those plastic bottles, which I did not buy. All right, so the winner is, I didn't differentiate. So this is McCormick. Got it right. But yeah, it wasn't too competitive. All right, let's go to the last comments. Wow, I never seen that. Yeah, these are Jay Grizzle. These are not common. Cool find. Yeah, definitely a cool find, I guess. But I do recommend this one. This one is really nice. And every time you see, that's a good sign. Because every time I drink this, it tastes better than the first, second, third, fourth. Now I'm liking the fifth time. So it keeps going up. Like every time I try it, it goes up. But this thing, Legacy, every time I try it, it goes down. Bad sign. Bad sign. Obviously. Tom says, question. So all scotches have to be made or distilled in Scotland? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no wiggle room on that. And then they can be officially bottled here in the United States, correct? They have to be distilled in Scotland. They have to be blended in Scotland, and they have to be aged in Scotland. But they can be bottled in the United States. Same thing for Canadian whiskey. Same rules I just named. But they can be sent over here and bottled in America. Because, you're just bottling it. The whole production is in the home country, Canada, Ireland, Scotland. But yeah, there's many Irish, Scottish, and Canadian whiskeys, blended or single malt, dependent, doesn't matter. But it's mainly blended. I don't know if any single malts are bottled here, actually. But they bottle them in the United States. It cuts down on the cost because they ship a big, huge tank of it. A huge tank. And then they send it bottled. So yeah, but it does have to be made in the home country, correct. And I believe there's some cognacs that are bottled in the United States also, but they're made in Cognac, France, so they're cognacs. All right, we all take care, and we'll see what happens tomorrow with McCormick versus Buchanan's. Well, we know what's going to happen tomorrow. So if you don't watch, I will not get offended, because there is no way on earth McCormick, and I like it, and I'm bragging on it, and I think it's a good value, and I really am pumping it up. You got to pump it up. Everybody pump it up. But it doesn't stand a chance against McCormick. That's going to be a catastrophe. It'll never win. White Horse has a better chance, but doesn't have a real chance. Wings and Pizza says, peace, everyone. Peace to you, Wings and Pizza. All right, Pizza. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.